The room was silent. Hundreds of tall, silver-skinned aliens stood in a perfect circle. In the center stood a human alone. Commander Ryan Holloway looked up. Before him stood the alien queen of the Xelari Empire. She was nearly 8 feet tall, her dark blue skin glowing under the palace lights. Her long armored dress shimmered like starlight, her eyes cold, sharp, and golden locked onto his. "You?" she said with a smirk. Her voice was strong and full of pride. "This is what humans call a warrior?" No one laughed, but Ryan could feel the insult in the air. Every alien stared, waiting for him to fail. Ryan didn't move. He had been trained for war, but this mission was different. He wasn't here to fight. He was here to represent Earth. "I'm not here to impress you," he said calmly. "I'm here because your people called for contact," I answered. The queen raised an eyebrow. "We asked for a leader, not a weak male." Ryan held his ground. "Sometimes your greatest strength hides in the ones you underestimate." The room shifted. A whisper moved through the crowd. The queen's smile faded, just a little. "Very bold," she said, "for a species so fragile." Ryan's heart beat faster, but his face stayed calm. He had studied Xelari culture. They respected strength, but not just in muscles. Strength of spirit mattered more. Still, the queen stepped closer, towering above him. "I don't like humans," she said softly. "Your kind is soft, emotional. You fall in love too easily." "And yours don't?" he replied. Her eyes narrowed. "We mate only for power, not pleasure. Never for feelings." Ryan didn't answer. He just stared back. The queen's voice turned cold again. "Let's see how long your pride lasts in the blood arena." Gasps filled the room. "The blood arena?" Ryan asked. "I thought this was a peace meeting." "For you, it still is," she said. "If you survive." Guards stepped forward. Ryan didn't fight. He was taken through shining crystal halls, down into a dark chamber lit by red lights. The sound of metal doors echoed behind him. Soon he stood in a large open arena. Above him, alien nobles filled the seats, shouting and cheering. Then a gate opened. A massive alien beast stomped forward, its body covered in sharp armor, its mouth full of teeth. It roared. Ryan had no weapon dot in the royal balcony above. Queen sat watching him like a hawk. "This is how they test humans?" Ryan whispered to himself. "Fine, let's give them a show." The beast charged. Ryan dodged to the side just in time. Dust flew up. He rolled, grabbed a broken chain on the ground, and wrapped it around his arm. The beast came again. Ryan ran straight toward it. At the last second, he dropped to the ground, slid under its legs, and climbed up its back. The crowd screamed. The queen leaned forward, watching with new interest. Ryan wrapped the chain around the beast's neck. It shook and roared, trying to throw him off. But Ryan held on. His arms burned. His legs screamed in pain, but he held on. With a loud crack, the beast fell. Ryan rolled off and landed hard. His chest hurt. His legs shook, but he stood. He looked up at the queen, and he bowed. The entire arena went silent. The queen rose slowly from her seat. Her golden eyes met his again. He expected more insults, but instead, she gave the smallest nod just once, then turned and left. Ryan's hands were still bleeding. The crowd had stopped cheering, but the silence was louder than before. From her high throne, the alien queen stared down at the human. She had seen warriors die in that arena. Many, even some of her best. But this man had no claws, no armor, no weapons and still the beast lay dead. She stood slowly. "Perhaps," she said aloud, "you are more than skin and softness." The crowd shifted. Some aliens hissed in disagreement. Others watched quietly. Thinking, Ryan didn't smile. He was too tired to play games. His arm hurt, his ribs throbbed, and his clothes were torn. "Is that how you greet peace envoys?" he asked, coughing. The queen raised her hand. "Bring him to the crystal baths," she ordered. "Let him heal. I will speak to him tomorrow." Then she turned and walked away without looking back. Later that night, Ryan floated in warm, glowing water. He winced as the strange liquid healed the cuts on his back. Alien medical bots buzzed around him silently. He was alone until he wasn't. The air shifted. The door slid open. The queen entered alone. Wore no armor, now just a flowing silver robe. She looked less like a ruler and more like a woman. A very tall, dangerous one. Rand sat up fast. "No guards?" he asked Dot. She ignored the question. Her eyes scanned him from head to toe. "You're stronger than you look." "I get that a lot," he muttered. "I watched the battle recording," she said. "You were clever. You didn't fight with strength. You fought with instinct. Humans survive. That's what we do." The queen stepped closer, stopping just beside the bath. Her face was unreadable. "Tell me, human, why did you come here? Earth has no army strong enough to fight us. No ships that can reach our core worlds." "I didn't come to fight," he said. "I came because Earth is tired of war." "War is the only truth," she said softly. Ryan looked up. "That's what you believe. But it doesn't have to be." For a second, she didn't answer. Then she turned her back. "We lost our males in a war thousands of years ago. Now we clone our kind, reproduce for survival only. No love, no weakness. Our females lead, always." Ryan was quiet. Then he asked, "So, why test me?" The queen looked over her shoulder. "Because I wanted to see if the stories were true." "What stories?" "That human males can win with nothing but will." Her voice dropped lower. "That your kind can change others." Ryan stood from the water. The healing fluid dripped from his skin. "And what do you believe now?" The queen's golden eyes met his. "I believe," she said slowly, "that I don't understand you." Not yet. The next day, news of the humans' victory spread across the empire. Some praised the queen for her wisdom. Others whispered rebellion. But the queen called for Ryan again this time, not for battle. Instead, she invited him to the Hall of Ancients, a place no outsider had ever seen. Statues of past queens lined the walls. Murals showed wars, losses, and sacrifices. Ryan looked around. "You built all this from pain." She nodded. "We survive, like you." They walked slowly, side by side. Then she said something unexpected. "If our species were to join, truly join, it would not be through war. It would be through creation." Ryan stopped walking. "Creation?" She turned to face him. "What if we could create something new?" For the first time, her voice wasn't commanding. It was unsure, almost hopeful. Ryan stared. "Are you asking what I think you're asking?" "No," she said quickly, turning away again. "I'm only thinking." But something was changing. Not just between them. Inside her, Asterisk, the human, woke up with a knife at his throat. Ryan didn't move. His training kicked in. His eyes opened slowly. An alien stood over him, not the queen. This one had 4 arms and a face covered in silver markings. A royal assassin. "She's changing." The assassin growled. "Because of you. That must stop." Ryan stayed calm. "So you're going to kill me in my sleep?" She was our strongest. She never smiled, never showed weakness. Now she spares a human? The assassin's voice trembled. "You broke something inside her." Ryan slowly shifted his hands under the blanket. "Maybe she's fixing something inside herself." The assassin raised the blade. But before it could strike, the door exploded open. The queen stepped in, glowing armor on her chest, eyes burning gold. "Touch him," she said, her voice like thunder, "and you die." The assassin froze, then dropped the blade. "I warned you," she hissed, raising her hand. A flash of blue light knocked the alien across the room. She looked at Ryan. "Come with me. Now." Moments later, Ryan walked beside her through dark halls. He could still feel the blade's cold memory on his skin. "Is this what peace looks like on your world?" he asked dryly. The queen didn't answer at first. Then she said, "I didn't know my own court was plotting." "And you protected me," Ryan said, watching her closely. "Why?" She stopped walking. They were alone now. Her voice softened. "Because something strange is happening to me." Ryan waited. The queen looked away. "You confuse me." "I feel things when I see you. Things I've been taught to silence." "Like what?" he asked gently. She looked at him. Curiosity. Calm. Even warmth. Ryan raised an eyebrow. "You're not a robot. It's okay to feel." She stepped closer, so close he could feel the heat of her skin. "Xerath queens do not feel. We rule. We conquer. We do not desire." "But you do," he said softly. For a second, everything was still. Then she whispered, "Come to my chamber. Tonight." Ryan stood outside the queen's private quarters. His heart beat faster than during the arena fight. This wasn't war. This was something deeper, stranger, dangerous in a different way. The doors opened. She stood there, not in armor, not in robes, but in a soft, glowing fabric that clung to her shape like flowing water. Her hair was down. Her golden eyes seemed softer, uncertain. "I still don't know what I'm doing," she said. "Neither do I," Ryan replied. They sat on the edge of her bed, not close, not touching, just silent. She broke it first. "Do you think two different species can create something real?" Ryan thought, real things don't need to make sense. They just need to be true. She turned to him. "I want to understand." "Everything?" He smiled gently. "Then let's start with one question at a time." And they did. All night they spoke about Earth, about Xerath, about fears, hopes, war, peace, and something new. Somewhere in the middle of it all, her hand brushed his. Neither of them pulled away. Far away, in a hidden chamber, a group of high-ranking aliens watched a hologram of the queen and the human together. One of them growled, "This cannot be allowed. The bloodline must remain pure." Another nodded. "She is falling, and soon she will fall completely." The explosion came just before midnight. Ryan jumped out of bed as the walls shook violently. Alarms screamed through the palace. He looked out the window and saw fire rising from the southern tower. He grabbed a cloak and ran into the hall. Guards were shouting. Smoke filled the air, and the ground trembled with each blast. But one thing mattered more than anything else. The queen, moments earlier. The queen stood alone in her war chamber, reviewing ancient scrolls. Her mind wasn't on strategy. It was on him. She still didn't understand it. Humans were fragile, small, emotional. But Ryan Hawley had something she couldn't explain, something that had changed her. He didn't try to control her. He didn't fear her. He saw her. Suddenly, the walls around her shook. The lights went out. A red glow replaced the calm blue. Then the door behind her blew open. 3 masked warriors charged inside. "Traitors!" The queen growled. One aimed a plasma blade at her heart. Back to Ryan. He ran through the smoke-filled halls. A palace. Guards were down, poisoned or dead. He heard screams from above the queen's chamber. Without thinking, he grabbed a fallen weapon and raced up the spiral staircase. Each step was fire. He burst into the throne room just as one of the assassins raised a blade over her dot. Ryan tackled him full force, sending both crashing through a glass table. The queen turned, breathing hard, her lip bleeding. "Why are you here?" she asked. Ryan grinned through the blood. "I'm on night shift." Together, they fought side by side. He disarmed one attacker, while the queen used her strength to break another's arm and throw him into the wall. Soon, the attackers were down alive but not moving. They stood in silence, blood and smoke in the air. Then the queen looked at him differently. "You could have died. You could have too." She stepped closer. "Why did you come back?" "Because," he hesitated, "I couldn't leave you." For a moment, the great alien queen looked small. "I thought I could never need anyone," she whispered. "But I was wrong." And then, for the first time, she leaned forward and rested her forehead gently against his. Not a kiss. Not yet. But something stronger. Later that night, the queen sat quietly in her private chamber, her armor gone, her skin still marked from the battle. Ryan sat beside her. "You saved me," she said. "You saved me first," he replied. She looked down at her hands. "I feel different, not just in my mind, but my body." He turned to her. "What do you mean?" She stood slowly, walking to the glowing mirror. Her golden eyes studied herself. "My skin is warmer," she said. "My senses feel sharper. And my heartbeat is different." He stood too. "Do you think it's because of us?" She nodded once, then turned, walked to him, and placed his hand softly on her stomach. "I think," she said carefully, "I may be carrying something. A life. Yours." Ryan's breath caught, but he didn't speak. He simply pulled her close and held her. Not as a soldier, not as a leader, but as something new. Something human. Far away. On a cold asteroid base, rebel generals received a new message. The queen is compromised. A hybrid may be growing. The throne must be taken. Prepare to strike. The queen fell. It happened in the middle of a council meeting, just as she stood to speak. One moment, her voice echoed across the hall, strong, commanding. The next, her legs buckled, and she collapsed to the floor. Gasps filled the chamber. Guards rushed forward. Ministers screamed, but the queen waved them off with a trembling hand. "I'm fine," she lied. She wasn't. Later, in the Royal Med Lab, she sat quietly as alien doctors scanned her. Strange readings blinked across the crystal screens. Her heart rate was elevated. Her blood cells were changing. A soft light pulsed in her lower abdomen. Ryan stood by her side, silent, the head medic tall. Thin alien with gray skin and glowing fingers looked confused. "This is not Zarenth," he muttered, "but not entirely human either." "My queen, what did you?" Her eyes narrowed. "Leave us." The medics obeyed without a word. When the door closed, she finally looked at Ryan. "It's real," she whispered. Unchanging, he stepped closer. "It's the child?" She nodded slowly. "Our DNA is merging. Something new is forming. Not just in the child. In me." Ryan's voice was low. "Is it hurting you?" "No," she said. "That's what frightens me." Across the palace, word spread fast. The queen is sick. She collapsed in council. She's hiding something. By morning, whispers became fear, and fear became anger. Some of the royal houses demanded answers. Others demanded her removal. She's bonded with the human, a noble spat. She carries an abomination. She should be removed before the bloodline is poisoned. Back in her chamber, the queen sat alone in the dark, hands resting on her stomach. Ryan stood nearby, pacing. "They're going to come for you. For us." "I No, she said quietly. What will you do? I could destroy them all, she said coldly. I have the power. But you won't, he said. She looked up. No, I won't. That's the old way, the way I was taught. Ryan kneeled in front of her. And we need a new way. She placed her hand on his cheek. You gave me that night. The queen gathered her royal court. She stood before them, no crown, no armor, just her presence. I am not weak, she said, but I am changing. And for the first time in my life, I welcome that change. Gasps, anger. Shock. One noble shouted, You carry a hybrid. I carry hope, she said boldly, for something better than endless war. Another cried out, You betray your kind, she raised a hand. No, I protect it. The old way brought only death. This union is a bridge. Silence followed, but behind their silence, fear still boiled. Far away. On the rebel warship orbiting in the asteroid belt, a message was received. The Queen has revealed the hybrid. We strike at dawn. The countdown had begun. The Queen screamed, not from pain, but from shock. She stood in the middle of the palace lab, gripping the edge of a glowing table. The medical scan had just finished. Ryan watched from behind the crystal barrier, heart pounding. The royal doctor whispered the results again, slowly, carefully. Your Majesty, the child has a heart. It beats like yours, but its rhythm is human. This is a true hybrid. For a long moment, the Queen said nothing. Then she whispered, I'm carrying the heir to two worlds. Hours later, the Queen locked herself in her private chamber. No guards, no noise, just silence. She stared at her reflection. Her skin shimmered slightly brighter than before. Her eyes glowed faintly gold. And inside her, she could feel something. Moving. Not just a child. A future. In the Grand Council Hall, news of the hybrid had reached every corner of the empire. Most nobles were furious. She must be removed, a general hissed. The throne cannot pass to something half-human. She risks everything for a weak species. Another growled, but a few young officers, minor house leaders, said nothing. Their eyes were filled with thought. A quiet rebellion of hope was growing. Back in her chamber, Ryan sat beside her. Are you okay? He asked gently. No, she said, but I'm alive. And so is our child. He smiled, placing his hand on her stomach. What does this mean? She turned her eyes to him. It means we have to fight, but not with weapons. With truth. He nodded. Then we tell the galaxy everything. The next morning, the Queen appeared on every screen, every ship, every outpost in her empire. This is not weakness, she said, standing tall with Ryan at her side. This is evolution. She showed the scan. She showed the heartbeat. She spoke of peace, of unity, of the end of endless war. And then she said the one thing no one expected. This child will be my heir. The galaxy held its breath, but not all welcomed peace. In the cold shadows of space, the rebel armada moved into position. Massive. Ships powered up. Stealth tech dropped. Their leader gave a simple command. End the Queen. Destroy the abomination. War had arrived. Back in the palace, Ryan stood with the Queen, watching the sky darken as enemy ships closed in. You don't have to fight this alone, he said. I'm not alone, she replied, her hand resting on her growing stomach. And let's protect the future, he said. Final scene of Part 6. As the first enemy ships descended toward the palace, alarms blared across the capital. But the Queen didn't run. She stood at the front gate in shining armor, belly showing, sword in hand. Ryan stood beside her. The child inside her kicked once, like it knew the time had come. The Queen raised her voice to the sky. Come then, face the future you fear. Asterisk, the sky burned. Enemy ships filled the clouds, dropping fire across the royal city. Explosions rocked the palace walls. But in front of the gates, the queen stood tall. She did not run. She did not hide. She placed one hand on her stomach, where the child moved inside her, and raised her voice. I will not kneel, not to fear, not to hate. Not today, Ryan stood. Beside her, weapon ready. Let them come, he said. The final battle begins. The rebel armada attacked with full force. Soldiers poured into the capital. But the queen's loyal guards, those who still believed in her, fought back with courage. Ryan led a squad through the burning halls, protecting civilians and injured guards. Above, the queen entered her war chamber and activated the Star Shield, a powerful defense system only she could control. The rebels tried to break through, but the city held, for now. Inside the palace walls, an assassin broke through the lines. He reached the queen's private quarters, where her unborn child's medical chamber was hidden. He raised a blade to destroy the growing life. Ryan appeared just in time. No, he growled, stepping between the blade and the child. They fought hard and fast. Ryan was wounded, bleeding, but he didn't fall dot with one final blow. The assassin was down. Ryan looked at the chamber. The child's heartbeat blinked on the screen steady. Alive, the queen's stand? On the palace roof, the queen faced the rebel leader, a massive war general covered in ancient battle armor. This is your end, he said. You broke the bloodline. She stepped forward, hand glowing with power. No, I saved it. They fought two giants of war, one for the past, one for the future. The queen's armor cracked. Her leg gave out, but she stood tall dot and in one. Final move, she dropped her weapon. I don't need to fight you, she said, because they already chose. Behind the general, dozens of rebel soldiers dropped their weapons. They had seen her speech. They had heard the heartbeat, and they chose her. The general turned, stunned dot too late. He was surrounded. 1 week later, the palace was quiet again. Rebuilding had begun. The war was over not with death, but with choice. The queen sat on her throne, her hand in Ryan's. Her stomach had grown larger. The people gathered to listen. I was raised to be a weapon, she said. But I became a mother, and through that I became more. She looked at Ryan. This child will be raised by both worlds. And one day they will lead us into something better. Cheers filled the air. Final scene. That night, under the stars, Ryan placed his hand on her belly and felt a kick. He smiled. He's strong. Or she, the queen said with a smirk. They laughed softly, and for the first time in her life, the queen didn't feel like a ruler or a warrior. She felt human. The END asterisk.